So, something that I've learned, and maybe I've always known it, is making friends is hard. In fact, I just talked about how I'm a bad friend in, I believe, the previous video, depending on when that went up. And I understand I'm a bad friend, but making friends is hard. What's funny is I used to be really good at it. Because we moved around a lot as kids, we always were going to new schools. And I think in middle school, every year, I was in a different school. It wasn't because I was bad. It wasn't because of whatever. It was because we moved. Like we moved almost every year. It was ridiculous. So I always had to learn how to make new friends, which is, again, this is why I don't have friends from growing up, is because they were short-lived relationships. Not all of them. Some of the people I still kind of keep in touch with, but generally, there aren't that many. You could probably count them on one hand. And I had that skill to make friends. I learned how to make friends. I learned how to have conversations. I learned how to kind of be relatable, which all worked as I ended up going into sales for almost 11 years. So I used all that to my advantage. Nowadays, I don't really use those skills. I work from home. I mostly just interact with my family, and they either are or not going to like me. That's just kind of the way it is. So, as a parent, as an adult, making friends is hard. And maybe it's because you just don't have those same outlets, especially when you're remote work. Like you're not in the office. There's no office camaraderie about like in the kitchen or getting lunch together or sitting next to each other in meetings and whatever it might be. That doesn't happen. I'm not even gonna say that doesn't really happen. That doesn't happen when you work from home. Yes, you can side IM and things like that or whatever, but like generally speaking, you basically are on a call and then you stop and then you go back to work. There isn't any back and forth talking. So it's interesting that the dynamics change. So I don't know if I'm losing the skill set or if it's just the opportunities aren't there. And yes, I know you can put yourself in the opportunities. Like for some reason at our daughter's daycare, everybody knows everybody. I don't understand it. And maybe it's just they're very outgoing and they're very friendly. But it seems like everybody, like there's a group chat and we're not a part of it, which is just kind of interesting. It probably isn't the case. I think people are just being friendly and nice and have common interests, but I don't have a lot of interests that are common. So like currently my interests are cameras like this, doing things like this, which basically nobody does. It was a podcast when we had that. And let's see, rollerblading now, which that's not a huge or really anything. Certainly not where we live. Maybe on the West Coast or down south where it's like there's beaches and stuff like that. But up here, that's not a thing. So I guess e-biking, people are always interested in that, but you don't carry that around with you, so it's not really a talking point. So yeah, it's hard. So it seems like there's things like joining PTA, which technically we're a part of, but we don't really participate in it that much. My wife did once. I don't think I've gone to anything yet, and the school year's almost over. But and then there's always like the people who are the kids who our kids are friends with. So there's always parents like that, and we've made some really good parent friends, which we've hung out with. Not only once outside of the kids. All the other times it was like a play date or something like that. But it's always nice to hang out with other grown-ups. But typically, when you are doing that, and I should say other parents, you really are just talking about parent stuff. Yeah, you'll talk about other things like sports and things like that, but I don't really care about sports or follow it, so I can't really speak to that kind of stuff. Or like another thing, I follow F1. I mean, there's a lot of people that follow F1, but not as many around a here. So that's not really a topic that people are going to talk about as much as like football. Like everybody talks about football. Technically follow hockey, but again, that's not a ton of people. I shouldn't say not a ton. It's less common than like football as far as like topics of conversation. So I don't know. I I really I don't know that we need that many friends. It's nice to go out every once in a while and, go grab a drink or whatever it might be, have the kids watched and just get a little time away, time out of the house because we're always in here. Yeah, I making friends an adult. I just think that maybe there's just not that many outlets for it. Like when you're in high school or even when you're in a workplace where people are around your age, I feel like there's more opportunities because you're by proximity. But when you're not going to the office and you're not in a school setting, a college setting, whatever it might be, it I feel like it just the opportunities aren't there as much, and it's hard to find those opportunities outside of a day to day if you don't do those things. So currently, we're working on trying to expand out our friendships with like some of our kids' parents, trying to have those relationships, which have all worked out pretty well so far, but you never know. And that's currently really our only outlet. I mean, we talk to people from work, but we don't hang out with them. Most of my people don't even live in this state. In fact, everyone I work with does not live in my state that I live in. My wife, it's a little bit different. They're all over the country, and there are some that live in the state, so that's a little bit different. But yeah, we're starting out small when it comes to this, but making friends, it's just I don't think it was always hard as a kid. I shouldn't say it was always hard. It was always challenging and required effort. And I think as you get older, it requires more effort. But then at some point, you're just like, how much effort do you really want to put into it? I don't know.